Welcome to Scatter Travel TV. I'm your host, Debbie Gerber. We are now going to go on another trip in Rome. On this trip, we're going to talk about the Trevi fountains and see them. We're also going to see the Spanish Steps, both which have some really cool little legends to them and are famous because of movies that they were in. Aren't a lot of sites famous just because of a movie that you saw them in? It made some kind of a personal connection with you, and then you want to go and see them for yourself. Well, the Trevi Fountains has a really fun one. I remember the movie from even just being a teenage girl, and it was all about love, and it was fun, and it was the Roman holidays, and it was with Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck. Who couldn't fall in love just with Rome, much less with the two of them? So the fountains are famous. There was a legend actually that was attached to them that you learned about, and it was about, there was a guy named Marco Agrippa back in 19 BC, and he decided to build this springs near the Pantheon. And so he sent some soldiers out to research this spring. And while they were there, one of the soldiers fell in love with a girl. And so the legend has to do with, if you go to the fountain, and she gave him water from the spring there, and then he fell in love. So the idea is that there is a correlation between wishes and between love and this fountain. So if you go to the fountain, the legend has now evolved that if you go to the fountain and you take a coin and you throw it over your left shoulder into the fountain, that your wish will come true. And of course, it should be about love, because that's kind of how that fountain's legend goes. But there's also a lesser known legend that used to be, and that had to do with this soldier and the girl who fell in love, who gave him the water. And that's off to the left-hand side. There's a smaller fountain. And at the smaller fountain, if you take a drink from the fountain, you will be in love forever. If you and the person you're in love with drink from the fountain, you'll be in love forever. So it has evolved. Some of these legends evolve over time. And the one about throwing the coin over your left shoulder and into the fountain also is that if you do that, that you will return to Rome again. So if you like Rome and you want to come again, make sure that you take your coin, throw it over your left shoulder into the fountain. And as you can see, we did that, and we're going to go back to Rome. I just know it, because legends should be true, shouldn't they? Okay. It is one of the very top sites in Rome. Part of my job for doing this show for you is to help you know some of the background of the places that you go to see. When you know the background, it's more than just going and saying, oh, isn't that a nice statue, or isn't that a nice fountain? You'll have something to connect with and to know a story of. It'll mean more to you if you know a little bit about the background of the places that you go. Sometimes when you're on a tour, they'll tell you some things about it, but usually they're in a hurry and they just skip over a lot of the things that I think are fun. Maybe they don't mean anything to the tour guides, because, you know, they tell it all the time, and they'll say, oh, here is the Trevi Fountains. You've seen it in Roman holidays. But they don't really tell you anything about what the actual scene depicts. So I'm going to try to tell you about what the scene, the statues in the Trevi Fountain represent. And as you see, it is a huge, huge area behind the fountain here. There is the main statue is the statue Neptune. He was the god of the sea. And he is in a chariot that looks like a shell, and it's being drawn by two seahorses. Now, the seahorses represent the sea and the changing moods that happen in the sea. And there's also two other gods that are in the scene. One of them is the god of abundance. And above the god of abundance is Marco Agrippa. Remember him for the 19th century, who wanted to build this aqueduct. and he was the son of the emperor. He wanted to build this aqueduct, and so he is up there, and he's above the god of abundance and approving his whole plan for making this aqueduct. And the other god is the god of celebrity, and that is that one represented the young girl, the virgin shepherdess, who showed the shepherds where the water was. So that gives you a little bit of background of what's actually in the scene, so that you can get an idea of what it is. You should see it in the daytime because it looks really different between daytime and nighttime. But at night, oh my gosh, you can see it's all lit up. It's very romantic. It's the perfect place to go, holding hands, have a kiss in front of the fountain, throw your coins over your shoulder, and make your wishes. It's really fun. Now, what do they do with all those coins? Here's another thing that most people don't have a clue about. Every night they come and they sweep the coins. They scoop them out, and they take all the coins out. And they figure that on an average they get about 3,000 euros in coins. And it is given to a charity. There's a charity that actually does that, and they get the money for that. But you got to remember that those coins are in coins from all countries. Anybody that comes there from different countries is throwing their own coins from their country into the fountain. So I would suppose that they have to take some time to separate and then, take it to the bank and get the exchange rates and stuff. But that's what's done with the coins that are thrown in the fountain for wishes. They also provide money for a charity. The Spanish Steps is another one of the sites in Rome that has a legend attached to it. It's someplace to go. Again, I love it in the night, but it's pretty in the daytime too. The legend with the Spanish Steps is that the Pope Urban VIII was quite impressed with a small fishing boat that was brought up to that area when it was flooded and the boat was stranded there when the River Tiber overflowed about 1598. And here was this little fishing boat that got stranded, and they say it was right on that spot. Other people say that it was that they put a fountain there to solve the low water pressure for that particular area. I like the legend better. And so you'll see the fountain looks like a small boat that's been sunk. It's got water in the boat and, of course, then a fountain. So that's, if you look at that, look for it to look like a boat and think of it as this Pope did, that it was a small fishing boat that had been brought clear inland by this flood and then stranded there. Isn't that a cute legend? I want to start a new legend. This Spanish Steps, there's 137 steps that go up from the base up to the church. It's a French church that's at the top of the hill, and if you go up there, you can see quite a bit of the city from there. It's quite pretty. It's also a place that a lot of local people meet together, and so you'll sometimes find it quite crowded, people sitting all over the steps. Be aware if it's one of the places that you stop to have a little rest or to hold hands and look over the city, that you're not allowed to eat while you're sitting on the steps. So just use it as a resting place. We stopped there and had a kiss in front of the fountain and by the bottom of the Spanish Steps. I want to start that legend. And especially, how about this one? Kissing behind an umbrella. Let's hide our kisses at the foot of the Spanish Steps. We had a lot of fun with that and had some good laughs over that when we were standing at the bottom of the steps. And so maybe try that as part of your new legend for the Spanish Steps. It was called Spanish Steps, although they were built by the French. It was called Spanish Steps because originally that's where the Spanish embassy was. And in fact, at one time, they said that plaza there at the bottom of the Spanish Steps was actually Spanish territory. And that's how it got to be called the Spanish Steps. Go up and see the church. It has some really neat paintings in it by a student of Michelangelo. So that's kind of fun to see. And spend a few minutes there just sitting on the steps and looking at that cute little fountain and remembering that legend. Thanks for joining us at Scatter Travel TV, your source for information on the places that you would like to travel. Or just come visit us if you'd just like to have a virtual vacation and see some of the top sites around the world. Visit our website, www.scattertravel.tv, for more travel destination information, deals on travel, finding the places that have the most information for you on the places that you're going to travel, and getting information for your future vacations.